Have you ever wondered about the twisted paths a person's life can take? Rudolf Höss, once an ordinary boy,
Die Häftlinge wurden
later found infamy as the Auschwitz Commandant, orchestrating some of the darkest acts in history. This journey from obscurity to notoriety poses a question. How does one's early life foreshadow their future? Let's delve into the early chapters of Höss's life and military beginnings to unravel the enigma behind the man who played a pivotal role in the Holocaust. Early life and military beginnings. Rudolf Franz Ferdinand Höss was born on November 25, 1900 in Baden-Baden, Germany, into a deeply Catholic family. His father, a former military man, envisioned a religious path for his son, hoping Rudolf would pursue a career in the church. Yet, destiny had other plans. As we trace the contours of Höss's early life, it's intriguing to ponder how his childhood may have quietly sowed the seeds for his future infamy. As a child, Höss was described as deeply pious, obedient, and introverted. His autobiography paints a picture of a boy enveloped in solitude with little emotional connection to his family. This early isolation and strict discipline under a military father perhaps laid the foundation for his later rigidity and adherence to orders, regardless of their nature. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 brought a significant turn in young Rudolf's life. After his father's death, the allure of military life grew irresistible. At the tender age of 14, Höss, driven by a mix of youthful adventure and a desire to emulate his father, joined the Red Cross as a relief worker. This early exposure to the harsh realities of war and the discipline of military life undoubtedly influenced his developing personality. In 1916, Höss made a decision that would further steep him in military ethos. He enlisted in the German army, joining the regiment where his father and grandfather had served. His time at the front lines was a crucible of sorts, forging a young man who found comfort in the rigors and hierarchy of military life. Despite his youth, Höss quickly rose to become one of the youngest non-commissioned officers in the army, earning the Iron Cross First Class for his service. Höss's wartime experiences were marked by a notable blend of bravery, discipline, and a growing detachment from conventional morality. It's almost as if the war provided a training ground for the heartless efficiency he would later display at Auschwitz. The end of the war, however, left Höss adrift in a defeated and chaotic Germany, searching for a new purpose. The post-war years saw Höss gravitating towards nationalist and paramilitary groups. He became involved with the Freikorps, a right-wing paramilitary organization, which played a significant role in shaping his ideological leanings. In these tumultuous times, Höss's life trajectory took a darker turn when he was implicated in the murder of a teacher, an act driven by political motives. Though sentenced to 10 years in prison, he was released in 1928 under an amnesty for political prisoners. This period of incarceration was a pivotal moment, further hardening him and deepening his disillusionment with the Weimar Republic. The early 1930s marked the beginning of Höss's association with the Nazi Party. His encounter with Adolf Hitler's rhetoric was a turning point, leading him to join the party in 1922. Hitler's vision of a disciplined, authoritarian state resonated with Höss, filling the void left by the defeat and turmoil of the post-war years. Höss's ascent within the ranks of the SS began in earnest in 1934. His commitment to Nazi ideology and his proven military discipline made him an ideal candidate for the SS, an organization that prized such qualities. Höss's time in the Dachau concentration camp, first as a guard and then in an administrative role, was a formative experience. It was here that he was first exposed to the systematic brutality and dehumanization that would later become hallmarks of his command at Auschwitz. In August 1938, Höss's career took another significant turn when he was transferred to the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Here he served as an assistant to the camp commandant, honing his skills in camp administration and prisoner management. These experiences were critical in shaping the man who would eventually oversee the most notorious extermination camp in history. Rise in the Nazi Party and SS ranks. The journey of Rudolf Höss through the ranks of the Nazi Party and the SS is a stark example of how personal ambition and ideological indoctrination can lead one down a path of unspeakable atrocity. His ascent in the Nazi hierarchy is not just a story of a man rising through the ranks, but a chilling illustration of the seductive power of extremist ideology. Höss's initial encounter with the Nazi Party came in 1922, during a period of political turmoil in post-war Germany. Drawn by the party's nationalist rhetoric and promises of a restored Germany, Höss found a sense of purpose that had eluded him since the end of World War I. His subsequent imprisonment for a politically motivated murder only served to deepen his conviction in the nationalist cause. Upon his release in 1928, Höss's dedication to the Nazi cause was unwavering. He re-entered a society in the throes of economic depression and political instability, ripe conditions for the growth of extremist ideologies. It wasn't long before Höss's path crossed with that of Heinrich Himmler, a meeting that would prove pivotal in his career. Himmler, impressed by Höss's military background and commitment to the Nazi cause, facilitated his entry into the SS in 1934. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in Höss's life, one that would lead him into the darkest corners of human history. In the SS, Höss found a strict, disciplined environment that resonated with his military upbringing. The SS's ideology of racial purity and its ruthless approach to achieving the Nazi vision of a racially pure state aligned with Höss's growing extremist views. His first assignment was at the Dachau concentration camp, a place that would become synonymous with Nazi brutality. Here, Höss began to develop the skills and mindset that would later be employed on a much grander and more horrific scale at Auschwitz. Höss's time at Dachau was a formative experience, exposing him to the mechanics of running a concentration camp, including the administration of punishment, labor exploitation, and the handling of prisoners. His efficiency and unflinching adherence to SS principles quickly caught the attention of his superiors. By August 1938, Höss's rise within the SS ranks led him to the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, where he served as the assistant to the camp commandant. This role offered him a deeper insight into the organizational and logistical aspects of camp management, skills that he would later refine at Auschwitz. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 marked a significant escalation in Höss's career. The war provided the SS with unprecedented opportunities for expansion and power, and Höss was right in the thick of it. The SS, now playing a central role in the implementation of the Nazi regime's policies, including the persecution of Jews and other groups deemed undesirable, was an ideal place for someone like Höss, whose ruthless efficiency and ideological dedication made him a valuable asset. In December 1939, Höss's career took a decisive turn when he was appointed to the administration team at Sachsenhausen, working under the new camp commandant, Walter Eisfeld. This period was crucial in honing his administrative skills and understanding of the concentration camp system. However, it was also during this time that the true extent of the SS's brutality and the nature of the concentration camps became increasingly evident. As the war progressed, the SS's focus shifted from mere persecution to the systematic extermination of Jews and other groups. Höss, with his experience and proven loyalty, was poised to play a central role in this genocidal project. His appointment in 1940 as the Commandant of Auschwitz, a new concentration camp in occupied Poland, marked the culmination of his rise through the SS ranks and set the stage for the horrors that would follow. Under Höss's command, Auschwitz would grow from a relatively small concentration camp to a vast complex of extermination and labor camps, playing a central role in the Holocaust. His meticulous approach to organization, indifference to human suffering, and unwavering commitment to the Nazi ideology were instrumental in the efficient operation of the camp and the mass murder that took place there. Auschwitz, the epicenter of horror. Auschwitz, under the command of Rudolf Höss, evolved into a symbol of the Holocaust's unspeakable cruelty and the chilling efficiency of Nazi genocide. This chapter delves into how Auschwitz, under Höss's administration, became the epicenter of one of history's darkest chapters. In 1940, Höss was appointed as the Commandant of Auschwitz, initially a small camp near the Polish town of Auschwitz. His task was formidable. to transform this site into a camp capable of holding 10,000 prisoners. But Höss, driven by an unyielding commitment to Nazi ideology, had ambitions beyond mere containment. Under his command, Auschwitz rapidly expanded. It wasn't just a single camp, but a complex of camps, including Auschwitz I, the main camp, Auschwitz II-Birkenau, the extermination camp, and Auschwitz III Monowitz, a labor camp. Höss's meticulous nature and military discipline were evident in every aspect of the camp's operation. The barracks, the electrified fences, and the watchtowers were all designed for maximum control and efficiency. But Auschwitz's true horror lay in its role as an extermination camp. It was here that Höss, following orders from Heinrich Himmler, implemented the use of Zyklon B gas for mass murder. The gas chambers and crematoria at Auschwitz-Birkenau became the final destination for millions of Jews, as well as Roma, Soviet POWs, and others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. Höss oversaw the construction of these facilities and the refinement of the extermination process, turning Auschwitz into the most efficient killing machine in the Nazi camp system. The scale of the atrocities committed under Höss's watch is hard to fathom. The methodical way in which prisoners were processed upon arrival, with the majority being sent directly to the gas chambers, while others were selected for forced labor or cruel medical experiments, speaks to the inhumanity that permeated Auschwitz. Höss's ability to dissociate himself from the suffering he caused, viewing prisoners as mere numbers in a system he was tasked to manage, is a disturbing testament to his indoctrination and detachment from basic human empathy. Life in Auschwitz, for those not immediately sent to the gas chambers, was a daily struggle for survival. Conditions were horrendous, with overcrowded barracks, minimal food, rampant disease, and constant abuse from the guards. The labor camps, like Auschwitz III Monowitz, were no less brutal. Prisoners were forced to work in inhumane conditions, often leading to death from exhaustion, illness, or outright murder by the guards. Höss's administration was marked by a cold, calculated approach to mass murder. He kept meticulous records of the killings and was constantly seeking ways to make the process more efficient. His innovation in the use of Zyklon B for mass extermination was a horrifically effective method, leading to the deaths of hundreds of thousands in the gas chambers of Auschwitz. The Commandant's house, just a stone's throw from the crematoria, stands as a stark symbol of Höss's chilling disconnection from the atrocities he oversaw. He lived there with his family, leading a seemingly normal domestic life amidst the backdrop of systematic genocide. This juxtaposition between the ordinary and the monstrous provides a haunting insight into the psyche of a man who could orchestrate mass murder and then return home to his family. The liberation of Auschwitz by the Soviet Army on January 27, 1945, revealed the full extent of the horrors committed there. The world was confronted with the gruesome reality of the Holocaust, much of it orchestrated by Höss. The piles of belongings, the gas chambers, the crematoria, and the emaciated survivors bore silent witness to the industrial-scale murder that had taken place. The mechanism of genocide, Höss's role and methods. The atrocities committed at Auschwitz, under the command of Rudolf Höss, represent a dark and complex chapter in human history. Understanding Höss's role and the methods he employed in this mechanism of genocide is crucial to comprehending the scale and nature of the Holocaust. At the heart of Höss's operation in Auschwitz was the implementation of the final solution, the Nazi plan for the systematic extermination of the Jewish population. Höss's role was not that of a mere executor of orders, he was an innovator and an organizer of genocide. His methodical approach transformed Auschwitz into a death factory of unprecedented scale and efficiency. Höss's first significant act was to systematize mass murder. Under his command, Auschwitz evolved from a concentration camp to a comprehensive extermination center. The camp was meticulously organized to handle the arrival, selection, and systematic killing of thousands of people daily. Höss oversaw the construction of gas chambers and crematoria, turning Auschwitz into the most lethal instrument of the Holocaust. One of Höss's most chilling contributions to the Holocaust was the introduction of Zyklon B as a method of mass extermination. Initially used as a pesticide, Höss recognized its potential for mass murder. The first experiments with Zyklon B in Auschwitz were conducted under Höss's supervision, marking a turning point in the Holocaust's efficiency and scale. The use of gas chambers enabled the killing of vast numbers of people in a short time, a horrifying innovation in the annals of human atrocity. Upon arrival at Auschwitz, prisoners were subjected to a selection process overseen by SS officers and doctors. Höss's system was brutally efficient. Those deemed fit for work were sent to labor camps, while the majority, including women, children, and the elderly, were sent directly to the gas chambers. This selection process was not just a method of extermination, it was also a tool for dehumanizing the victims, reducing individuals to mere units in a deadly sorting process. While Auschwitz is primarily known for its role in extermination, it was also a site of forced labor. Höss orchestrated the exploitation of prisoners as a workforce, contributing to the Nazi war effort. The conditions in these labor camps were brutal, with starvation, disease, and physical abuse being commonplace. For Höss, prisoners were a resource to be exploited until they were no longer useful, at which point they were discarded through execution or death through neglect. Höss was constantly seeking ways to make the killing process at Auschwitz more efficient. This pursuit of efficiency extended to every aspect of the camp's operation, from the layout of the gas chambers and crematoria to the disposal of the victims' bodies and belongings. Höss's ability to adapt and refine the methods of mass murder demonstrates a disturbing level of detachment and commitment to the Nazi cause. An often overlooked aspect of Höss's methodology was the psychological impact on the perpetrators. He created an environment where cruelty was normalized and killing became a routine part of daily life. Guards and staff were conditioned to view the atrocities they committed as a necessary part of their duty, effectively numbing them to the horror of their actions. This psychological manipulation was a key component of maintaining the efficiency and orderliness of the genocide. Rudolf Höss was not a distant overseer. He was intimately involved in the operation of Auschwitz. He personally supervised the selection process, the development of the gas chambers, and other aspects of the camp's operation. His hands-on approach and dedication to the task of mass murder underscore his central role in the Holocaust. Capture, trial, and final moments. Rudolf Höss's story did not end with his tenure as the Commandant of Auschwitz. The final chapters of his life, his capture, trial, and execution provide a stark closure to the narrative of a man who was central to the orchestration of the Holocaust. As World War II drew to a close and the Nazi regime crumbled, Höss attempted to evade justice by assuming a false identity. He fled Auschwitz in January 1945, just days before the camp was liberated by the Soviet army. For over a year, Höss lived under the alias Franz Lang, working as a farmer in northern Germany. His capture, however, was inevitable in the aftermath of such widespread and horrific crimes. Höss was arrested on March 11, 1946, near Flensburg, Germany. His arrest was not gentle. Accounts suggest he was severely beaten by his captors, reflecting the immense anger and desire for retribution among those who apprehended him. This treatment, while brutal, was a harbinger of the reckoning that awaited him. Following his capture, Höss was subjected to intense interrogations. The initial phase of his imprisonment was marked by harsh treatment and lack of sleep, tactics used to break his resistance and extract a confession. On March 16, 1946, Höss signed an affidavit in which he confessed to organizing the mass murder of approximately 2 million people at Auschwitz. This confession, obtained under duress, would later be a point of contention among Holocaust deniers, but it was corroborated by other evidence and testimonies. Höss's testimony was crucial during the Nuremberg trials, where he appeared as a witness. At the trials, he provided detailed descriptions of the extermination process at Auschwitz, including the use of Zyklon B in the gas chambers. His testimony was a key piece of evidence in understanding the extent and mechanics of the Holocaust. Höss's calm demeanor and matter-of-fact descriptions of the atrocities he oversaw were chilling. He showed little emotion or remorse, a reflection of the deep indoctrination and detachment from humanity that characterized his actions during the war. After his appearance at Nuremberg, Hoss was extradited to Poland to stand trial for his crimes. The trial, held before the Supreme National Tribunal in Warsaw, began on March 11, 1947, exactly 1 year after his capture. The proceedings were a meticulous account of his actions and the operations at Auschwitz. Hoss faced a litany of charges, including murder, torture, and the persecution of various national and racial groups. During the trial, Hoss's demeanor was one of detachment. He acknowledged his role and the actions he had overseen at Auschwitz, but defended them as orders he was bound to obey. His defense, which rested on the claim of following orders, was a common refrain among Nazi officials tried for war crimes. However, this defense did little to mitigate the gravity of his actions. On April 2, 1947, Hoss was found guilty of all charges and sentenced to death by hanging. The sentence was a foregone conclusion, given the overwhelming evidence of his crimes and his own admissions. What followed was a brief period of waiting, during which Hoss penned reflections on his life and actions, writings that would later be scrutinized for insights into the mindset of a high-ranking Nazi official. Hoss's execution was carried out on April 16, 1947, in Auschwitz, the very place where he had committed his most heinous crimes. The choice of location for the execution was symbolic, a final act of justice for the countless lives lost there. Hoss was calm and composed during his final moments, walking to the gallows with a steady gait. His death marked the end of one of the most notorious figures of the Holocaust. The capture, trial, and execution of Rudolf Hoss closed a chapter in the history of World War II and the Holocaust. However, the legacy of his actions and the system he helped create at Auschwitz continue to haunt the world's collective memory. His story is a stark reminder of the depths of cruelty and inhumanity that can arise from blind adherence to ideology and the abdication of moral responsibility. Legacy and controversy, memoirs and historical debate. The legacy of Rudolf Hoss, the infamous Commandant of Auschwitz, extends far beyond the historical records of his capture, trial, and execution. It is enshrined in his memoirs and the ensuing historical debates they ignited. These writings, penned in the shadow of his death sentence, offer a chilling first-hand account of the mechanics of the Holocaust, yet they are mired in controversy and ethical conundrums. Written while Hoss was imprisoned in Krakow, awaiting execution, his memoirs were a rare and unsettling insight from a high-ranking Nazi official directly involved in the Holocaust. They detailed his life, the development of Auschwitz, and his role in the systematic extermination of millions. These writings, posthumously published, became a crucial historical document, providing a detailed account of the operation of Auschwitz and the logic behind the final solution. Hoss's memoirs are significant for their detailed description of the extermination process, including the use of gas chambers and the disposal of bodies. They offer a disturbing glimpse into the mind of a man who was a central figure in one of history's darkest chapters. Yet the memoirs are not without their complexities. Hoss's tone is often detached, and he frequently justifies his actions as obedience to orders, echoing the defense he used at his trial. The historical significance of Hoss's memoirs cannot be overstated. They are one of the few first-hand accounts of the inner workings of the Nazi extermination camps by someone intimately involved in their operation. Historians and scholars have used these memoirs as a key source in understanding the Holocaust, particularly the bureaucratic and logistical aspects of the genocide. However, the memoirs also sparked controversy. Some critics argue that they offer a sanitized version of events, downplaying the brutality and dehumanizing aspects of the camps. Others question the accuracy of some details, given that they were written by a man facing execution, who might have had motives to alter his account. Furthermore, Holocaust deniers have seized upon these discrepancies and the conditions under which the memoirs were written to discredit them, although these claims are widely refuted by credible historical evidence. The use of Hoss's memoirs in Holocaust research also poses an ethical dilemma. Can and should the writings of a man responsible for such heinous crimes be used as a historical source? This question is particularly poignant given the nature of Hoss's crimes and the suffering of millions under his command. The memoirs serve as a reminder of the moral complexities involved in studying and understanding history, particularly events as traumatic and devastating as the Holocaust. The legacy of Rudolf Höss in historical memory is one of infamy. He is remembered as a key architect of the Holocaust, a man who, through his organizational skills and ideological commitment, facilitated the mass murder of millions. His story is a chilling reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the dangers of blind adherence to extremist ideology. The memoirs, despite their controversies, contribute significantly to the historical record of the Holocaust. They provide an essential, albeit disturbing, perspective on the events and the mindset of those who perpetrated them. As such, they remain a subject of study and debate among historians, serving as a crucial piece of the puzzle in understanding the Holocaust.